Oh, so no, I had a sinus infection, but now I got emergency coverage, so I'm busy. You gotta do what? I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm gonna fake it.
He's got to change.
Yeah, I'm messing with him. Call the mayor up first, right? Good evening, everybody. We're so glad that you're here. We're going to begin the school board meeting, but the very beginning portion of the meeting, I'm going to ask the Honorable Mayor Rogers Anderson to come forward. Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I'm delighted to introduce to the public officially our newest appointed school board member. And if you'll come forward, please, with your family, and we'll have you sworn in. Thank you so much for being here. A deal's a deal. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. McGraw, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Board members, if you would please be so kind to register your attendance. All board members are present and accounted for at this time. I was going to ask that everybody stand for a moment of silence to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which Mr. Gregory will be kind enough to lead for us. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, board members. It's good to see you here this evening. At this time, I am going to open the floor for the election of the school board chairman. If you'll please push your button if you care to make a nomination. Mr. Hullett?
I'd like to nominate Gary Anderson, please.
Mr. Gary Anderson has been nominated. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Mr. Dan Cash?
I'd like to second that.
There's a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations from the floor to serve as the school board chair? Nominations at this time are closed. Please select yes if you vote yes in the affirmative for Mr. Chairman to serve as the school board chair, or Mr. Anderson to serve as the school board chair. Vote no if you decide not to.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. If you'll just give us a moment, we will change seats.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all very much for the confidence in allowing me to be the chair of the Williamson County School Board. I am honored. I consider it a privilege to serve this body and this community, and just really appreciate the fact that we can move forward and make this and continue to make this the best district in the state of Tennessee in K through 12 education. So again, thank you very much, and look forward to serving you as your chair. The next item on the agenda is the election of the vice chair. What we would do on this is take nominations for the position, and as many as we get, we will take those nominations. And then after we do nominations, we will ask each candidate who has been selected to be nominated to make a presentation on why they would like to be vice chair. So does everyone, board members, understand what we're going to be doing? Okay, for vice chair, and let's see if I can remember how all this works up here again now. We have Mr. Wimberly. See if your mic is on, sir.
Hello, Chairman Anderson. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Wimberly, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Jay Galbraith for vice chair.
Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Galbraith. According to Robert's rules, Mr. Golden worked with me before us that we do not need a second on these. We just need a nomination. Next person to speak is Ms. Emerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to nominate Dr. Beth Burgos.
Okay, we have Dr. Burgos is nominated for the position. The next nomination would come from Mr. Cash.
My person's already been chosen.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then Mr. Peterson.
I'd like to nominate Robert Hollett, please.
All right, sir, thank you. Are there any other nominations for the vice chair position? Okay, I see none, and we'll cease the nominations, and we'll ask for each one of the candidates who are nominated to speak about the reasons of why they feel they want to be vice chair of the Williamson County School Board. So the first person selected was Mr. Galbraith. If you would please make a short presentation on why you would like to be the vice chair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I know, first of all, I wanted to just apologize to all of you guys to say that I had a meeting out of town and that I was already committed to, or else I would have been there this weekend. So I did follow along on Twitter and through Mr. Golden, but I do apologize that I wasn't there. So as far as vice chair, I have enjoyed very much the year that we've spent on the board together, learning and trying to serve to the best of our ability the citizens and the students and the parents of Williamson County to try to make our schools as strong as can be and continually improve. The role that I see for the vice chair is really to assist the chair in moving forward and keeping us all focused on the strategic plan and the task at hand. What I would like, my personal goal is to spend this year, as I've started doing, and focused on the growth plan. I feel like it's the biggest thing that's holding over us as a board and as a community is how do we face the growth that we're experiencing, that we have experienced for the last couple of decades, and we projecting forth looks just as turbulent, I guess. And so that's really what I want to work on. I think over the year I've tried to be as pragmatic and just systematic in my approach. I don't come to the table with a particular point of view or agenda, and I feel like I listen to both sides of the argument and make the best decision that I can for the school system. And so that's what I intend to do if I'm elected. I'd be honored to serve as vice chair. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker will be Ms. Burgos, Dr. Burgos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And to you, Mrs. McGraw, welcome to our board. It's nice to have you. And I want to thank you, fellow board members, for allowing me to serve as your vice chair last year. It's truly an honor. And if it's your will, I will serve in that capacity another year. I believe that I'm uniquely qualified to be a unifying force on this board. I believe that every voice needs to be heard. Whether reelected as vice chair or not, I am committed to being kind and respectful to each one of you. And I believe that we are all united in purpose. Although we may not be united in how we believe we'll get there, we all have different opinions because we're different people, and we represent our district, which is also a very diverse population. But we all love Williamson County Schools, or we wouldn't be here. And so I want us to focus on that and be able to have respectful, professional discussions with alternating points of view. I will continue to conduct myself in a professional way and try to lead us to a very exciting year. Not lead us, the chairman will lead us, but I look forward to an exciting and challenging year, working together as a team to accomplish those goals. And I thank you for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Burgos. Next candidate is Mr. Hullett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome. Glad you're with us. As I've stated many times before, and as I consistently state throughout, my priority begins and ends with our kids. It begins and ends with our kids, their schools, and our communities. It's what I work so hard to protect and to make sure that we help them flourish. Servant leadership, which is what I can provide, I'm highly qualified for this. Servant leadership is grounded in sacrifice. And I explained on Thursday, I won't talk about it much now, but on Thursday I explained all the sacrifices that I've made over the last 3 years for all the times that we've had events and functions and board responsibilities that we've been at. And I do believe that when we swear that oath, that is a responsibility, that we are there for our kids, their schools, our teachers, our families, and our communities. I will tell you this. No matter how you cast your vote tonight for any one of the three, if it's not a vote for me, I will not be taking it personally. Everybody, as Dr. Burgos said, everybody has their own perspectives and what they want to do, but I will not take it purposefully. I'm highly qualified for this. It's basically just another avenue of how I will be serving our kids, our schools, and our communities, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Hullett. Board members, it's kind of a unique opportunity to have 3 qualified candidates for this position. And so when we do this, we need to have one of the candidates end up with the majority vote, which is seven votes. We'll go through the process of voting on each candidate in the order that they were nominated, and see how many we can get on each one, and see if we have one of the candidates who end up with 7 votes. So does everyone understand the process where we are? Mr. Gregory.
The way you described it, Gary, could there be 2 candidates with 7 votes after the first round?
Let me talk with Mr. Golden to make sure this is okay. Okay. Mr. Golden has advised that we should be voting on just one candidate and not multiple candidates at this time. So we're going to need to make it, your vote will be yes or no on each candidate or abstain. You're also welcome to abstain, but you can only vote on one candidate at a time, and our votes will be reflected up on the board as we go through. Okay, any other questions?
Gary, I still have a question about that.
Yes, sir.
Can we vote for more than one candidate for vice chair?
In the context of the first vote, no. At no time can you vote for more than one chair over the cycle of a vote as the 3 candidates are presented. In the event you don't have a majority, you then would have the power at the second cycle to vote for a different candidate if you choose to do that. For the very reason that you mentioned, that the net effect could be that you have 2 vice chairs, which is a practical impossibility.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then our first vote is for Mr. Galbraith. And if you have no other questions, if you're ready to vote for that, please press yes or no or abstain.
Your vote is 3 yes, 6 no, 3 abstain.
Thank you. Our next candidate, as soon as the machine is ready, Mr. King, are you ready? Our next candidate is Dr. Burgos. If you would vote your conscience on that candidate.
Your vote is 6 yes, 4 no, 2 abstain.
All right, and your next candidate is Mr. Hullett. As soon as Mr. King is ready, okay, you vote for Mr. Hullett.
Your vote is 2 yes, 5 no, 5 abstain.
Okay, we obviously do not have a clear winner with 7 votes. I'm going to ask our attorney to advise us on this one. Do we just go and continue with the voting as we have done?
You can continue with the voting. Tennessee law, neither Tennessee law nor board policy require a vice chair, but my advice would be that you don't just quit after one vote. Run a few more, and then at some point it may be appropriate for a board member to make a motion to terminate the vote and proceed without a vice chair if at some point you all determine there's not going to be a change in the vote.
Okay, does everyone understand? We're going to take another vote on this. Same candidate, same process. Okay, we will then again vote on Mr. Galbraith.
The vote is 4 yes, 4 no, 4 abstain.
Okay, so we're ready to vote now on Dr. Burgos.
The vote is 7 yes, 3 no, 2 abstain.
On my vote, when I pushed the first time, it didn't record and it went back. I need to Can we vote again on this?
Yeah, Mr. Anderson, actually, you voted in the first one. Yes, is that correct?
I voted no in the first one.
first one, okay.
And I meant to vote no. I pushed no and it did not record. Can we go back? And,
Yes, you can.
Okay. I'd like to retain or maintain the same vote I voted last time. Do we need to go back and vote, or do we just declare it as stated?
Declare that as stated.
Okay. My vote was I had pushed the no button the first time, and when it didn't record, I actually hit the yes button, but I wanted to keep my vote the same as I did in the previous one. Okay, so then it would be...
6 yes, 4 no, 2 abstain.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. When it didn't record, I messed it up. Okay, next one is Mr. Hullett.
Your vote is 2 yes, 5 no, 5 abstain.
Okay, we've been through the second. We still do not have a candidate with 7. Mr. Hullett?
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's time and your perspectives on this. I will go ahead and withdraw my candidacy, my nomination, and I'll be putting my support behind Jay Galbraith.
Okay, so Mr. Hullett has withdrawn his nomination. We will be only voting on 2 candidates, Mr. Galbraith and Dr. Burgos. Does everyone understand on that? Okay, the first one then is Mr. Galbraith.
Your vote is 6 yes, 3 no, 3 abstain.
Okay. We are ready to vote then on Dr. Burgos. If you would record your votes. Mr. King, the thing disappeared. Okay. We ready to vote again? Okay. If you would record your votes.
Your vote is 6 yes, 4 no, 2 abstain.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, we have a...
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything, if we were to decide, and this might be for Mr. Golden as well, for Robert's rules, if we were to decide at this point to move forward without a vice chair, is there anything that would prohibit us from revisiting it 6 months down the road?
The short answer is no. There's a couple of options if you all decide to do that. You could table it, in which case it just floats and sits there perpetually until it's brought back up. Or under our board policy, any board member can ask that it be placed back on the agenda. If there's a motion to terminate the voting tonight and proceed without a vice chair, again, it can be brought up at any time just by placing it back on the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Wembley, could you request to speak?
Yes, actually, I was going to ask the same question, but I think I would like to modify that and make a motion that we table the vote and revisit it at another time.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Mr. Golden, Robert's rules state
Takes a second.
we need a second to table this. Mr. Peterson, second the vote. Okay, any discussion on this, or the tables do not have a discussion?
No discussion.
No discussion, so we have to move straight to a vote. Then the motion is that we table this now. Is that correct, Mr. Wembley?
Yes.
Table this, to table the vote for the vice chair. Okay, if you would go ahead and vote. Record your votes.
Your vote is 7 yes, 5 no.
Okay, so the motion passes to table the vice chair vote from the board, and so we can proceed on with the rest of the agenda. Okay, Ms. Curley, before we do the agenda, you would like to speak?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Anderson. I would like to address the board and also members of our community and say that I am so sorry that a word contained in a definition tweeted offended members of our special needs community. That was never the intent, and I am so sorry. And I hope that you will accept my apology. Also, I would like to ask that in our consent agenda, items C and E be removed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Curley. I'm going to ask for approval of the agenda, and then if you'd restate that, please. For the next item is the approval of the agenda as it is. Do we have a motion? Or we have a motion to accept the agenda? And second by Mr. Cash. Okay, we do have Ms. Curley who has asked for, make sure I got this right, Ms. Curley, on this consent agenda, item C and item E, you would like to be moved to the new business part of the agenda, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, item C and item E will be moved to the new business section, and it will be we already have one that the staff has asked for, and that would be adding to the agenda bus driver retention, which would be item F. And so those two, item C will now be item G. And item E from the consent agenda will be H. Okay, we have an amended agenda. Anything else? Okay, then do we do a voice vote on this? Just do a voice vote. All in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. The consent agenda contains items that the board approves that basically do not have any kind of real issues with them as far as the board members are concerned. And what was approved was the approval of the August 17th school board meeting minutes, approval of the recommendation for field trip fee requests, and approval of the 2015-16 management personnel for collaborative conferencing. So those items were approved by the board. Next item on the agenda is the particular items of particular public interest, public comment section. We have 10 people who would like to speak tonight. The board is allowed 30 minutes in public comment, so each person will be allotted 3 minutes. Does anyone have a timer that we're working with on this one? Okay.
We can handle it.
Mr. Golden will handle that. Williamson County residents and Williamson County school employees shall have first priority in the event time remains. The chairperson may allow non-residents to speak. All persons addressing the board will state his or her name, provide his or her address, and provide name of the organization or group he or she is representing before addressing the board. The board reserves the right to limit the time of any speaker. We will go with the 3 minutes, and we're asking that no personal attacks be made on anyone and that we have a degree of decorum during this time. Please address the chair rather than any individual board members when you speak during this time. So we have, like I said, a list of 10. The first person to speak is Daniela Coons.
Good evening. My name is Daniela Coons. I live at 132 Cavalry Drive in Franklin, Tennessee. Dear Chairman of the school board members, Dr. Looney, audience, it was good to attend the school board work session held at Montgomery Bell State Park on Thursday and to hear Dr. Looney share his big visions for our school community. With the new budget planning coming up, I thought to ask again the school board members and anybody here who could confirm if I understood correctly that so far there are only 3 employees of our maintenance department proceeding with projects like painting hallways or other indoor air polluting projects for all of our 41 schools throughout the year, and often when students are in the buildings, and that there are no funds set aside to hire additional contracted workers who could possibly perform such air contaminating works all at once during summer months or during other longer school breaks instead, for the time our kids are most likely not in the school buildings, and to protect our students' health. If this is accurate, I urge Dr. Looney and the school district and also Mr. Golden, I know I shouldn't directly talk to them. It's Mr. Chair. I wanted to urge that these items should be included in the budget every year to make sure that our students are protected. Please provide funds for the extra workforce needed each year for on-demand seasonal workers for all of our 41 plus schools in our school district to execute indoor air polluting works during longer school breaks to avoid exposing our students to health-harming substances. Set aside funds to cover minimal costs to train all of our principals, teachers, school employees, and also custodians and other contract workers, so they all will know how to protect especially students from potential health-harming chemicals and work projects indoors or outdoors. Make use of the free online training program tools for schools, and I'm sure you're trying to implement that now with the policies that have just been passed. Today, 5 years ago, I spoke for the first time before the school board, and I'm thankful that the Williamson County School District has made improvements and addressed some concerns and passed also my suggested policies for safer indoor air quality and healthier learning environments for our students. Please remember, our kids' health affects everybody in our community in a way or another, no matter if people have children or not, or if their kids are enrolled in our schools or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Donna Isbell.
Mr. Anderson, on behalf of the ARC of Williamson County, we would like to say thank you to Ms. Curley for your apology. The R word has no place in our vocabulary. Make no mistake, the word retarded is hate speech. Its sole purpose is insult, offend, and belittle. At one time, the R word was part of the clinical diagnosis of mental retardation, and it was used for the purpose. Over time, the R word became slang for stupid, and people with actual clinical diagnosis rightly became insulted by the connotation that they were stupid. In recent years, the R word has been replaced with the clinical diagnosis of intellectual disability. On October the 5th of 2010, Rosa's Law was signed, replaced the use of mental retardation with intellectual disability in federal law. The same year, Tennessee passed similar legislation. It's discouraging to hear the R word used because it is so hurtful to people with intellectual disabilities, people who live, work, and play in our communities, just like the rest of us. It's even more discouraging to hear the word used from someone in a place of power, someone who is supposed to represent the community. While the use of the R word may seem inconsensual to the people not connected with the disability community, the ARC of Tennessee, the ARC of Williamson County, and other disability advocacy organizations will tell you otherwise. People with intellectual disabilities are offended by the use of the word. It hurts them, their families, and everyone connected to them. The R word has no place in our vocabulary. In fact, there is a nationwide movement to end the use of the word. The ARC of Tennessee, the ARC of Williamson County, and other disability advocacy organizations invite you to join our word. Spread the word to end the word. Sign the petition online at r-word.org. Help us educate others who may not know how hurtful the use of the R word is to our Tennesseans with intellectual disabilities and their families. The issue has nothing to do with being politically correct. It has everything to do with being respectful of people with intellectual disabilities. Let us take the opportunity of our community to be in the forefront in this effort. Let me end by quoting from the Schools Be Nice campaign. Treat others the way you want to be treated by being kind, respectful, and generous. Here in Williamson County Schools, it's just what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Sarah Melamed.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Melamed. I'm a mom to 2 boys. My oldest is a first grader, and my youngest has autism and soon will be part of the school system. Mr. Anderson, congratulations on your election to chair, and I hope that this next year is easier for you than it has been. This past year, you've had to deal with a higher than usual volume of correspondence from community members and parents, as well as fellow board members. You've heard from so many of us on a variety of issues, from those that require scant attention to some that have required and still frankly deserve further investigation and explanation. The latest flurry revolves around a school board member's tweet using a slur that belittles a portion of the students you represent, as well as my own son. Social media, like many things in life, is an amplifier of human nature. It makes good things better and bad things worse. It has become a staple of everyday life, and it is used to great effect here in Williamson County. But I find it unfortunate that one school board member's social media use has been scandalous enough to be covered by the press. That is why I'm standing here today asking for sensitivity training for the board, as well as for the development of a social media policy. Social media carries with it legal, ethical, personal, and professional risks. Each of you is an ambassador for Williamson County and our schools. From the vantage point of the general public, you are spokespeople and stewards of our reputation. You set the example and tone, and it is important to use discretion and common sense when employing social media for professional or personal purposes. A social media policy should include the importance of being considerate and responsive to everyone you encounter, and recognize that respect is modeled by how we treat one another. You show respect for different points of view and be sensitive to issues of race, religion, sexual orientation, ability, age, and culture. Not allow inappropriate content such as slurs, personal insults, obscenities, and other unprofessional commentary. And a policy for deleting comments, urging restraint only to remove highly offensive content and not because you disagree with somebody's viewpoint or want to evade a question. It should require evidence to support claims and the citation of sources. And moreover, it should urge the use of caution. Topics can quickly become viral with a simple sharing of a tweet, post, or retweet, and these conversations quickly escalate. The internet is permanent, and what you say online lasts forever, even if you remove or delete it later or attempt to make it anonymous. People capture and share these screenshots. But most importantly, this policy needs something to back it up. And I know, Mr. Anderson, you might have disagreed with me on this one since it hasn't been done in all your years of service, but I suggest censoring the board member and taking any other actions that can be taken. I believe that these steps can be an important means of distancing a board from counterproductive behavior, since silence in some cases might be interpreted as a tacit endorsement. In that way, it can help guard other board members and the school system from backlash resulting from a rogue member's comments or actions. Social media has great potential for communication and dialogue, and you can assure that this great potential is fully realized without inadvertently compromising our standards and dignity. But in the meantime, here's a good rule of thumb. When in doubt, stop, and don't post until you're free of doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Vicki McKinney.
Hi, thank you. I am a former Williamson County special ed teacher and now a stay-at-home mom to 2. One daughter, my oldest, has Down syndrome. She's in early childhood in our county. I do want to say I very much appreciate, as many I think in the community do, the apology given tonight by Ms. Curley, and I feel But I still feel this issue is important, and as previously said before, that a social media policy is needed amongst the school board. I would expect that elected officials present themselves in a more professional way on social media, in a way that is more representative of our county and our school system. The use of the word retarded is antiquated, inappropriate, unprofessional, and highly offensive to many Williamson County parents, teachers, students, and families, particularly those served through the student support services. It is not merely a politically incorrect word. It is hate speech, and its use is no less reprehensible than the use of the N-word. There are roughly 36,000 students in Williamson County schools. In the general population, it is said that there is about 1% of the general population that has an intellectual disability. In Williamson County schools, this number is likely much higher, as we do have incredible services for these students and their families. So we're talking close to probably 400 or more students that have an intellectual disability. Their families, their friends, their neighbors, their teachers, their paraprofessionals, their administrators, and their school board members that are offended by this word. As a former special ed teacher in this county and now a parent of a student with a disability, I can attest to the fact that the behavior of this board member is not representative of our school staff. Her behavior not only offends the students and the families of the county, but undermines the hard work of the administration, the teachers, the staff, and the rest of the school board members that work diligently to create an inclusive, respectful environment in which all students are valued. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Gary Graham.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Looney and people in the audience. Last Friday morning, I attended the State Textbook and Instruction Materials Quality Commission meeting. I learned a lot about textbook cycles, how they are selected, and what local school boards' role if they object to parts of the text, plus many other things. The meeting lasted about 2 and almost 3 hours, so there was a lot of information provided. And I was most impressed with a public speaker part when a mother spoke about a history book and the effect on her 7th grade daughter and family and many others. The lady spoke as a mother, not as a school board member. Thank you, Susan Kirtley. I realize we all cannot choose the words we speak wisely, and sometimes we speak words we wish we hadn't spoken, but later apologize. I accept that apology. My wife and I are conservator of a mentally challenged student in Williamson County, but I understand the word growing up, and it was used, and I haven't used it since, but we're all human, and I sincerely accept her apology. I know she is sincerely sorry she said it, and I think we've beaten a dead horse anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Patsy Reitzman.
My name is Patsy Reitzman. I live at 1117 Holly Hill Drive here in Franklin. I'm here to voice my disappointment, and I'm here to voice my hope. My disappointment is that there is so much friction in the school board. My disappointment is when there is an issue that it appears the discussion does not take place internally, but it is an immediate outward to the press. I do not know if our superintendent, when was asked about the comment made by Ms. Curley, if you had talked internally or if there was an immediate response to the press. I would hope in the future that there are discussions internally. Ms. Curley, I sincerely appreciate your apology. And I want to ask the group something. If every single one of us in here has done something at one time in our lives we were sorry about, how would you feel if the way it was handled is it immediately went to the press? Because that's how things have been handled. We have some officers here this evening, and your job is to protect us. What would happen right now if something terrible happened, a gunman came in, and instead of protecting us, they were bickering with each other? And press, I'll give it to you too. What would you do? Would you start covering and say, I cannot believe how they're bickering? Or would you say, do your job and protect us? So my request is, we have a lot of wonderful things in Williamson County in the school systems happening. Do we have some issues that need to be addressed? You better believe we do. Scott Walker this afternoon dropped out of the presidential race. And in his concession speech, he said, let's quit bickering among ourselves. Those were not his exact words, but we have some huge issues facing this country. We have been known as one of the best school districts in this state. And the only way we will continue that or move forward is to stop the infighting. It is not just on one side, it is on both sides. Please talk internally before it's just all in the press, because I don't think that's the way to handle it. I thank you for what you do. I wish all of you well, but I would like to see it handled differently when there's friction in the future.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Janet Schaus.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Glad to see you back in the chair.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Janet Schaus. I live at 409 Crofton Park Lane, Franklin. I have a student who is almost 20 with autism. He attends Franklin High. And you asked that my remarks be addressed to you, Gary. Okay, I will do that. I first of all want to second what Donna Isbell said. I also want to second the idea of a social media policy. I think that is vital. Much of what has gone on in among this board has been because of social media. While the use of the R word in the tweet was not directed at a student, it was still considered to be hurtful to those of us in the disability community. My son is in the 1%, and that is not the 1% that we go, yay, yay, yay. That means he functions at a level that he doesn't have to take TCAPs or anything else in terms of testing. And so I would, first of all, the use of the word, the R word, was hurtful. The choice of the source material for a definition using the Urban Dictionary shows to me a great lack of judgment or a deep naivete, one or the other. That's just not appropriate for an elected official to be using as their source material. While I appreciate the sincere, I believe, apology that was given tonight, it's taken 10 days for that apology to be made to us in the disability community. And that is startling to me. Disappointing if she's sincerely regretful of her use, that it's taken 10 days. She's had plenty of opportunities to apologize prior to tonight. And given the many varied conflicts that she has created, I would like to request publicly, as I've done privately, that Susan Curley resign her board seat. I think much of the friction that has gone on in this board is the result of her. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Jennifer Heflin.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Heflin. I live at 2100 Lake Ridge Way. I have 3 children in Williamson County schools. My youngest is in 1st grade. She is very social. She's very happy. She's very stubborn. And she's been in the school district about 4 years now, and she has Down syndrome. I was very offended and hurt, very hurt by the use of the R word by a school board member. Her community at school, her administration, her teachers, her classroom teacher, her special ed teacher, her aides, her therapists worked so hard for her success, and she's thriving and doing wonderful. I felt like a school board member is undermining not only my daughter and the special needs community, but those who are put in place to support her and to help her and give her acceptance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next speaker is Jason Grant.
My name is Jason Grant. I live in 1626 Oak Hall Drive in Brentwood. Topic change, a little bit more proactive business for this year's school board. Last spring, one of my wife's coworkers was notified that his 3rd and 5th grade daughters had been treated for lice. It was kind of unexpected to pull them out of school for a day. I didn't know they had this profession, but apparently they are professional lice cleansers, and he paid for that service. It prompted us to check my, at the time, kindergartner, and sure enough, lo and behold, she had lice too. This was surprising because both the 3rd and 5th grader live in different section of the school district, have no interaction with my kindergartner, and ride different buses. So I called the school because, as evidence would later prove, it was an outbreak of lice. I recently approached this topic on a different matter with our principal, and she was instructing, she informed me that the instruction that she had been given from the district was that there was a policy to prevent proactive communication to parents. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but we are very, very well informed when there's bikers and walkers that are not going to happen, and we're very well informed about events that are coming up and some of the PTO activities that I'm involved with. But I found it very, very surprising that you wouldn't put that in the parents' hands to announce, hey, we may actually have a breakout of lice. You might want to take proactive steps. I myself have 3 other ones that were not, 3 other little ones that were not in at school, and I wanted to make sure that we protected their interests after the outbreak, but it would have certainly helped a whole lot as a parent to be on the front end of that as opposed to having to react to it after we actually discovered that we did have that. So for the policy committee, whoever the members may be, I would ask that you please take a look at that and potentially address making a change so that our administration at the school level actually has a voice and can actually inform parents about this issue and other issues that they would like to take proactive steps to correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jane McGrath.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, tall. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jane McGrath, and I live at 9036 Lockmere Court in Brentwood. I'm coming to you tonight as a special education teacher as well as a parent, a member of our Be Nice committee, and advocate for kiddos, especially those with disabilities. My heart breaks when words such as the R word are used. Whether in relation to a student or not, it still breaks my heart. My students that I taught struggled twice as hard as other students to accomplish everyday tasks that we took for granted. With my students and my children, I constantly talk about choices. Good or bad choices, those choices have consequences. And I understand as human beings, we experience emotions which can overtake our ability to make good choices. Sometimes we say or do things in the heat of a moment that we later regret. But now what's done has been done, and now we have consequences, apologies, an acknowledgement that we're human, we make mistakes, we ask for forgiveness and make amends and move forward. Occasionally as a parent or a teacher, I get to or have to issue some consequences along to help my student or child learn a lesson. and to make better choices as they move forward. I truly thank you for your apology this evening, and I agree with previous community speakers that social media is a blessing and a curse, but there should be some social media training as to what we should and should not be putting out there. And I truly hope that as a board, you can move forward from here on out in a productive manner. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That ends our public comments section for this evening. Our next item on the agenda is communications to the board, the superintendent's report. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's good to see everybody this evening. We have a delightful group of students with us this evening from Walnut Grove Elementary School. I sent some communication to the board members previously that we are in the process of celebrating Constitution Week, and more specifically Constitution Day. So I would like for the principal and our very intellectually enabled students to come forward and show their skills to the public and to this school board members. They are a talented group of boys and girls that can sing and dance and recite and do all kinds of really good things. Please come forward.
Hey guys, we have to get started on our school project. Yeah, we have to explain the preamble to the U.S. Constitution.
The preamble is one sentence that introduces the Constitution of the United States. The preamble does not list any rights or powers. It just gives the reasons for writing the Constitution.
That is like writing the goals for the Constitution.
I think we should tell what each part means. Let's get busy. Let's not forget, Governor Morris, our founding father, wrote the preamble.
Of the United States of America.
We the people.
The people. First, the American Indian.
Then a flood of European immigrants.
African.
Middle Easterners.
Asian peoples.
South Americans.
And they keep on coming. We the people of the United States.
The United States.
All 50.
From Portland, Maine, west to San Diego, California.
From Fargo, North Dakota, south to El Paso, Texas.
Alaska and Hawaii. Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming, North, South, East, Western, Commonwealth, Pennsylvania. Tennessee is the best of the 50 nifty United States from the 13 original colonies. Shout 'em, scout 'em, tell all about 'em, one by one to a given a day to every state in the good old We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
That union seemed perfect. All of the colonies became states as well as the territories to the west.
Until the southern states seceded because they wanted states' rights.
But the Civil War ended with a more perfect union of states, based upon the belief that all Americans deserve the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice.
Even before the established United States, justice was valued.
John Adams had actually defended the British in court after they had attacked and killed colonists during the Boston Massacre. Although he didn't believe in states' rights, although he didn't believe in the British cause, he still believed justice was more important than retribution.
Justice was ensured for Americans by following the fairness of John Adams in establishing a court system beginning with local courthouses and moving up to the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C.
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility.
There have been times where a nation's tranquility has been disturbed. But in spite of Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941,
and the horror in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania on September 11, 2001.
We still live in a stable and peaceful country. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense.
the Air Force, no one comes close. Soar to new heights in the wild blue yonder.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun.
Nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
The Army, be all you can be an army of one.
Over hill, over dale, we have hit the dusty trail, and those caissons go rolling along.
Hoo-ah! The Navy, welcome aboard.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away.
Anchors away, full speed ahead.
The Coast Guard, protecting America. It's our job every day.
Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too.
Semper Paratus, always ready.
And the Marines, the few, the proud.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles on the land as on the sea.
Semper Fi, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, Promote the general welfare.
People's basic needs must be met in a country.
Needs for housing, education, transportation, and healthcare are overseen by our government system.
Labor laws ensure that people work in safe environments and that they are paid fairly for the work that they do.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
Jefferson's promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness came later for many of the peoples of our nation.
African Americans did not share the rights of whites by law until the 14th Amendment in 1868.
Women did not share in the right to men to vote or own property until 1920 when the Suffrage Act was ratified.
But people all around the world still look to the United States as the land of liberty for all.
We, the people.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
That's you and me.
And our children.
And our children's children.
And their children too. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
The Constitution of the United States of America has stood the test of time.
Although it was signed on September 17, 1787, it still stands as a ruling document of laws ensuring the rights and liberties that we still enjoy today. And so let us all proclaim once again for all the world to hear.
The preamble to the Constitution of the United States of America.
We, the people of the United States,
in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America the bold, for this is
I'd like to give special recognition to Kathy Wimberly and Teresa West for leading this young group of students in this activity. You know, there is a lot of debate and rhetoric across our country about whether our schools are teaching patriotism and the founding documents. And I don't know about you board members and members of the public, but I wouldn't want to be tested against these elementary school students. So congratulations, I'm very, very proud of you. Just a few more comments under the superintendent's report, just in response to the public comments tonight. I want the public to know, and I know I speak on behalf of our board members, all of our students are welcome, wanted, and worthwhile in Williamson County, and we love you. So thank you very much. Board members, I'm pleased tonight to report that we have hired a new Director of Transportation Services. He had boots on the ground today during orientation. I believe Mr. Fuller is in the audience. Jeff Fuller, please stand up and be recognized. So for those parents that may be watching, Jeff, your cell phone number is what? We're glad to have him. He will officially start his duties, I believe, on Monday of next week, and he has a lot of work to do. We look forward to him joining the team. And then the last thing I want to say before we turn it over to student and employee spotlights, board members, as you know, we had a lengthy discussion about the quality of cleaning services in our schools. Since we implemented the contract with the two vendors, we continue to struggle, but those contractors have been put on notice. They have been given a very firm deadline to improve their services. I plan on submitting a memorandum to you by the end of this work week, outlining what our activities and our expectations are for those vendors to provide the type of quality cleaning services that our students and our families deserve and have come to expect. With that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Carol Birdsong, whose role it is tonight to recognize some outstanding students and employees.
And I tell you what, it's a tough act to follow, those Walnut Grove 4th and 5th graders, but we will do our best. And so we will start with, I don't know, how about 5 perfect ACT scores? Yeah, all right. This is Margaret Overton at Brentwood High School, and Margaret is a senior. And then we have Hill Duggan from Centennial High School. Hill is also a senior. This is Rhett Britton, Franklin High School, a senior as well. Amy Uyang from Ravenwood, and Sarah Rosenthal from Ravenwood. Perfect ACT scores on the June 2015 test. Now, I would like to introduce you to Lauren Hall, and Lauren is from Franklin High School, and she just recently received the Legion of Valor Bronze Cross for Achievement, and her JROTC instructor is Greg Hoover. We have 2 cheerleaders who made the Tennessee All-State Cheerleading Squad. This is Kylie Betchley from Ravenwood High School, and this is Becca Zaves from Ravenwood High School, and their cheer coach is Katie Conley. We also have 5 students who have been named, I should say musicians, who have been named to the U.S. Army All-American Marching Band. This is David Curtis from Franklin High School, Anaya Dossie from Franklin High School, and Michael Hall from Franklin High School, and their instructors are David Adelot, Jacob Camps, and Michael Holland. We also have Samuel Vines from Ravenwood High School and Taylor Winkler from Ravenwood High School. Their band instructors, Mark Kinzer and Brant Poindexter. Now, Dr. Looney, I need for you to please come forward so that we can make sure that our 21 reward schools are honored in the proper fashion. So principals, when I call your school's name, if you will come forward, if you will receive your framed certificate from Dr. Looney, and then if you will make your way back to the training center where Mr. Corey Mason is going to take your picture. Well, Doctor, actually, if you would come out this way, that would be great. So maybe if you could turn that way so everybody could see you. How does that sound? Okay, we're going to start, and Charles is going to assist. Dr. Farmer is going to assist. We're going to start with Clovercroft Elementary. Clovercroft is being recognized as a reward school for performance and progress, and Dr. Laura LaChance is the principal at Clovercroft. And again, pictures will be made in the training center. Dr. Pam Vaden is representing Ravenwood High School. Again, Ravenwood is recognized as a reward school for performance and progress. Now we're going to honor our schools that were named reward schools for performance. We'll start with College Grove and Kathy Lillard. And Fairview Elementary in Brent Oakley. Grassland Elementary and Dr. Ann Gordon. Hunters Bend Elementary and Chad Walker. Kenrose Elementary and Dr. Marilyn Webb. Longview Elementary and Dr. Gabrina Charles. Oakview Elementary and Dr. Tom Morris. Berry Creek Elementary and Dr. Stephanie Chatham. Scales Elementary and Molly Doggorn. Trinity Elementary and Chris Schwartz. Walnut Grove Elementary and Dr. Kate Donnelly. And Winstead Elementary and Kathy Wells. We have 3 middle schools being honored as reward schools for performance. They are Brentwood Middle and Dr. Brandon Barkley. Grassland Middle and Dr. Lily Leffler. Woodland Middle and Priscilla Pfizer. We have 4 high schools being recognized tonight for performance. Brentwood High, and Kevin Kydell is not here, so John Calton is accepting on his behalf. Franklin High School and Willie Dickerson. And Page High School and Dr. Shane Pantal. And last but not least, Summit High School and Sarah Lamb. And we have one staff spotlight tonight. Surprise! Didn't know, Dr. Looney doesn't even know it's in the lineup, but for those of you who do not know, our superintendent, Dr. Mike Looney, has been named the 2016 Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents Superintendent of the Year. Congratulations to all of our students, our schools, and our staff.
Mr. Chairman, board members, that completes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Dr. Looney, just while we're on this subject, what percentage in the state do they have to rank to get this particular honor as being a reward school?
In the top 5% of all schools in the state of Tennessee.
All right, top 5%. That is very awesome, and thank you very much for your leadership on that.
Yes.
And of course, congratulations on your Superintendent of the Year award. Quite an honor.
Thank you, sir.
On the board chairman's report, normally we would ask for principals or assistant principals to stand, but they've all left the room, so we'll save everybody the embarrassment of running back in here. Also like to thank our Sheriff's Department officers. We have Deputies Brian Dobbs and Dominic Calvani here with us tonight, and Corporal Aaron Ferguson, and we appreciate your service to our community and to the board about being here in attendance this evening. Also, we have scheduled the Board Policy Committee meeting on October 5th. I will be putting together a list and asking board members to serve on that committee. As you know, every year we redo the committee structure, and I'll be asking people if their willingness to serve on that committee. We have 6 board members who would be serving on that. We also have the Let's Talk Schools starting on October 6th at Ravenwood High School, starting at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7:30, and I believe that is a Tuesday. And then on October 8th, Let's Talk Schools moves on to Summit High School from 6 to 7:30, and that is on a Thursday. On a personal note, I'd like to thank PJ and the central office staff for their putting together the agenda for the retreat last week. I think we had an excellent retreat, and things moved very well. We got a lot of things discussed, and a lot of topics were handled very, very handily. So I thank you very much, staff and PJ, for putting that list together. We're ready to move on to the next item, and that is the unfinished business. We have none, so we'll move to new business, and we have board policy for first reading. Dr. Looney, and this is on page 37 in your books.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Policy 4.6052, student schedules. First reading, I do recommend approval at this time.
Do we have a motion for approval? Motion from Dr. Burgos. Second? Second from Ms. Emerson. Any discussions? Okay, Ms. Curley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for clarification on this particular policy. When we talk about students attending 7 hours per day at school, does this potentially limit co-enrollment opportunities or students that may be involved in CTE, particularly in their senior year, may be working?
No, ma'am, it does not.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I see none. If we're ready to take a vote, you can record your votes. Okay, Mr. King, if you could record it. Mr. Mazzara had to depart for personal matter.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Our next policy is policy 5.117, non-tenure and tenure, on page 39. Dr. Looney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This too is first reading only. Policy 5.117. I do recommend approval as written.
And do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Hullett, second from Mr. Cash. Any further discussion on this policy? Okay, I see none. If you're ready to record your votes, go ahead.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Our next first reading policy is policy 5.403, drug-free workplace. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, this too is a first reading of 5.403, drug-free workplace. I do recommend approval as submitted.
We have a motion. Motion by Mr. Cash, second by Mr. Peterson. Any further discussion? I see none. If you would go ahead and record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Okay, our next One is policy 6.600, student records on page 43. Dr. Looney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. This is just to acknowledge what it is that we do and do not collect on students. This is a policy for first reading, 6.600. I do recommend approval of the first reading of this policy.
We have a motion. We have a motion by Mr. Hullett, second by Ms. Emerson. Any discussion on this policy for first reading? I see none. If you go ahead and then I'm sorry, Ms. Curley. I'm sorry, missed that.
That's okay. Just a quick question again for clarification purposes. Some of the biometric data, which is indicated here that we will not be collecting without parent written consent, is any of this data collected via assessments that are currently conducted in the schools through testing or other assessments?
Let me review this one more time before I answer your question to make sure.
Thank you.
Ma'am, to the best of my knowledge, there is no data collected that is listed on this form, specifically in items lines 11 through 21, in particular without parent permission. I do believe that when we give an eye exam, that there is some eye tracking that's done to determine whether or not they have astigmatism, but I couldn't verify that.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. The purpose for my question is some of us have repeatedly heard moving to online testing, that some of the different keyboards, cameras on computers, et cetera, could be capturing some of that information. And so that was the reason why I was asking. So thank you.
Any further questions? I see none. Go ahead and record your votes.
The vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Our next item is item B, adoption of board goals. You'll find that starting on page 47. And Dr. Looney, would you like to speak to that?
Mr. Chairman and board members, these are the goals that you discussed at the planning retreat. I have made the correction to actively in the first item. I believe this represents what you agreed upon in the planning retreat.
Anyone like to make a motion to accept these goals? We have a motion to approve from Mr. Wimberly, second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion on the school board goals? Mr. Gregory.
On the first goal, Gary, why does it say actively participate? I mean, it doesn't say actively participate, actively organize, or actively maintain. I'm just curious, why is that word in there?
I did not write these goals. Dr. Looney, were you involved with the process?
Yes, sir. I can speak on behalf of PJ since he is absent. The conversation that we had was not to waste taxpayers' money. If you're going to purchase the membership, then it behooves the board to actively participate in the training sessions and the gatherings that they have, so that this board could become better, become a better deliberative body.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, I see none. Then if we'd go ahead and record our votes, these would be the board's goals.
The vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item C, adoption of superintendent's goals on page 49. Do we have a motion for those? We have a motion from Mr. Hullett. Second from Dr. Burgos. And Dr. Looney, would you like to speak to these, please?
Once again, these are the goals that the school board debated and deliberated on in the retreat. You will note that the goal number 5 that Mr. Cash had indicated he want to include is not represented there, but I assured this body I will take a vacation at some point in time.
We have further discussion. Ms. Emerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to also thank Dr. Looney for making us take note of the measurable progress and that we're going to have conversation about that. I'm looking forward to that, and I know you are too, being somebody who likes to rise to a challenge. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. Any further comments or questions on this one? Okay, Ms. Curley?
Yes, just a quick question on these particular goals. Will these goals be the next step be to get more specific on these in terms of objectives which may hang underneath them? And the reason why I ask is that in Tennessee Annotated Code, there are some larger big bucket items that cover everything from job performance, student achievement, relationship with staff and personnel, relationships with board, and then relationships with community. So one, I want to make sure that we are in fact having some goals that ladder up to those elements that are identified by law, but then also that there are some specific measurable objectives underneath just for evaluation purposes, so we are all aligned on the expectation.
Dr. Looney, would you like to respond?
Yes, ma'am, that is my understanding as well.
Okay, and those will be presented at the next meeting or worked on between now and then? Is that the plan?
There was no discussion about another meeting. My understanding was it relates to the evaluation instrument that the board had previously agreed upon, and that I would provide evidence as required by law under the umbrellas of these items.
So we won't get more specifics in terms of those objectives to measure or to have a
but
certain
my understanding,
rubric.
based on the conversation that was held at the planning retreat, was that this satisfied the intent of the board.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, if you're ready to vote, go ahead and record your votes for the superintendent's goals.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you, board. The next item is item D, board parameters on rezoning. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I hope that you will allow me just a moment of privilege to explain to the public what we're proposing tonight, just because this is such an important issue to our school community. The proposal, the zoning parameters that we're proposing tonight include no rezoning for the upcoming year, with the exception of a small subdivision with new development in Nolansville, and two small subdivisions and the adjoining communities in the Oakview Elementary School zone. Mr. Golden can provide additional information for the board members if necessary. That's what we discussed, but there will be no recommendation for district-wide or large-scale rezoning for the upcoming year.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Looney. These were presented at the work session, as you know, is what we looked at. Does anyone have any questions or comments on these board parameters? Anyone like to make a, Mr. Hullett?
Just for public consumption, were we planning to look at these in October or November, the spot rezonings?
Thank you, Mr. Hullett, for your question. We will be bringing to you in October for first consideration the draft proposal. Of course, you'll want to, I think, engage the community in some dialogue before you actually vote on it. So I suspect the vote will actually occur in November, with it first being debated in the work session in October.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mr. Galbraith?
And I apologize if this was discussed at the meeting this weekend, but is there a plan from a timing standpoint to talk about the future growth? I know it's one of your goals, but is that part? Do you have a timeline there yet?
Yes, sir. We will be bringing to the board in October a proposal to contract with a company that specializes in growth planning. and you've been part of that conversation. So we'll be bringing that proposal in October, and I suspect from there on we'll be getting advice and guidance from, if you approve the proposal to hire the firm, then we'll be laying out a plan with your direction and support.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, I see none. Are we ready to take a vote? If you are, please.
We don't have a motion.
I thought we had a motion over here from Bobby. I'm sorry. Was there a second on that one? Second by Mr. Peterson. Sorry, I thought Bobby had made a motion. Maybe the one before that. All right, we have a motion and a second on this. Anyone, any other discussion? I see none, and go ahead and record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Next item is item E, 2015-2016 budget amendments, and we'll do EI, general purpose school amendments, page 77. Dr. Looney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. The first one relates to extended contract. It's listed on page 77. Relates to extended contract funds. I do recommend your approval as submitted. Mrs. Holman is here, can answer any additional questions.
Okay, the extended contract one is on page 83 for the extended contract. Do we have a motion for this? Mr. Peterson, make a motion to approve. Second by Mr. Galbraith. Any discussion? Okay, I see none. Then if you would record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is item EI2, Ladders to Hope, on page 87.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I recommend approval of this budget resolution for $15,878 to continue our support of Ladders to Hope.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for this one? We have a motion from Mr. Wimberly and second by Ms. Emerson. Is there any discussion on this one? Okay, I see none. If you're ready to record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Next one is EI3, LEAP grant, on page 89. Dr. Looney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We've been fortunate to get this grant for several years in a row. Dr. Webb does an outstanding job providing additional supports to students at Centennial High School. This continuation grant will allow us to continue doing that for after-school tutoring for students at Centennial High School. I do recommend approval in the amount of $75,000.
Okay, do we have a motion for the LEAP grant approval?
So moved.
We have a motion to move by Mr. Hullett, second by Mr. Cash. Any further discussion on this one? I see none. If you'd go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is EI4, United Way grant, on page 91. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. Several years ago, we strengthened our already strong relationship with United Way. For the past couple of years, they have provided grant funds to provide specific tutoring for students that were at risk in grades 2 through 4. The grant has been expanded. The data says it's working. We are pleased with the partnership, and I hereby request that you allow for this budget resolution to take in $44,896.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Anyone like to make a motion on this grant? Move for approval from Dr. Burgos. Second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion on the United Way grant? I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. I was hoping for an EI-EIO, but we didn't have that. Can we work on
Those
that for
fourth
next
and fifth
time?
grade students didn't include it in their Constitution celebrations.
Next one is EII Extended School Program, number 1, ESP, starting on page 93. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, you may recall that this is a self-funded grant. This is the funds come from fees paid for by parents for before and after school care. The program is alive and thriving and doing well. We have a lot of participation. The more students that participate, the more employees we need to supervise the students, and this grant allows us to transfer the funds for that.
Okay, do we have a motion on this one for the Extended School Program? Ms. Emerson, make the motion. And like the second. Mr. Cash seconds. Any further discussion on this one? I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is Education Capital Project Amendment, Master Plan Study, page 97 in your books. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. I really enjoyed this portion of our discussion at the planning retreat relating to how we move forward, given that our community is going to double in size in the next 15 years. With that in mind, I think it's important that we begin to look at the facilities that we have to determine whether or not we can utilize them more effectively and more efficiently to serve more students. With your permission, I would like to contract with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, who is the architect firm that designed Mill Creek High School and several of our theaters. They will complete a master plan for the entire Franklin High School campus to include the potential use of Cheek Park and the existing Columbia State campus, and do a similar study at Brentwood High School, Brentwood Middle School campuses to determine whether or not we can add additional capacity. These projects will include community engagement, and hopefully you will be an active participant in that process. I'm excited about this work. I think it's money well spent, and I recommend your approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Dr. Burgos, and second from Ms. Emerson and Mr. Gregory.
Yeah, Dr. Looney, I was asking if you'd just tell us where this Mill Creek High School is going to be located.
Well, given that I have a sinus infection and I'm a little bit dizzy, and I'm still practicing some of what the students were learning, I meant to say Mill Creek Elementary Middle. I appreciate your satire, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Wimberly.
Dr. Looney, how long do you think it will take to do these master plans?
I believe that we'll have them both complete and in the board's hands by the end of the first semester, sir.
Into the first semester
of this year.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Are there any further questions, comments, discussions? Okay, I see none. Then, if you'd record your votes.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I do have another question. Dr. Looney, could you describe for us what the engagement with the stakeholders might look like?
Not adequately, sir. But
Thank you.
Mr. Golden might very well be able to help me.
As I sit here, I'd have to go back and look at the proposal again. We had forwarded it to the board back in late August. What I would like to invite you all to do is I'll send you an email with some detail of it. If you have anything else you'd be interested in adding to it before we sign something, we'll do that.
And I will add, I do know it involves community meetings where draft proposals and input sessions are conducted relating to how we might best utilize the campuses and the resources that are available on them. So as an example, at Franklin High School, I know that there was a preliminary plan that was submitted by some members of the community about how they might like to see the campus developed. And in my direction to Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, I have asked them to utilize that plan as a springboard to engage them in further conversation.
We appreciate that.
Dr. Burgos?
I'll just dovetail on to what Dr. Looney said, because at our retreat, when they made that presentation, they said that at the community involvement, they would have all the plans up on the walls, and you could have a green sticker or a red sticker. The ones that you like the best, you could put a sticker on, and they would, get a gauge of what the community liked best, which plan. So they have already thought of ways to engage, and I was very encouraged with the amount of community involvement that they're going to seek for these projects.
Thank you, Dr. Burgos.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, while you all were speaking, I did find that, and the reference in the agreement speaks to intent of those community meetings, and it says the intent and purpose of community engagement is for our design team to listen to the end user, including students, staff, and community, which will include community vision and goal setting, project organization and coordination, program of requirements. I think the detail Dr. Burgos gave was probably better than what was actually written in the proposal.
Thank you. Jason, any further comments, questions, discussions? I see none. If you're ready to go ahead and record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is item F, and it was the one that was at your desk on bus driver incentive bonus. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We discussed this at the retreat as well. You may recall that as a result of the bus driver shortage, we implemented a hiring incentive, or we implemented a bus driver incentive program so that we could hire additional bus drivers. We now need to expand that to include an incentive for retention of bus drivers. We had some discussion about the fact that we're losing bus drivers due to market conditions and supply and demand. We are hopeful that this will help alleviate some of the burdens that we are facing right now.
Would anyone like to make a motion to accept this proposal? We have a motion from Mr. Hullett. Second from Mr. Cash. Anyone like to comment on this plan? Mr. Galbraith?
Dr. Looney, do you mind giving us an update of where we are from a bus driver perspective and kind of the impact on the double routes that we've had to incur?
Yes, sir. The last report I received, we had 17 bus drivers in training. I do know that a few of those trainees have dropped out, and we have lost an additional 7 bus drivers due to resignations and or retirements since the last report that I submitted to you, which is one of the reasons why we're asking for this to incentivize the bus drivers that are with us to remain in place until Mr. Fuller is able to do a complete evaluation of how we might move forward. In addition to that, I will state that we believe that we'll be bringing an additional compensation-related issue about bus drivers to you in the October meeting.
And in addition to that, I know we retained Costa. Can you? I know she was quite successful. Can you help us out to the?
Well, the majority of the trainees that were in training, the majority of people that were in the training program, the 17, were a direct result from Costa. I have not received a report in the last few days about where she is on that. But
and how and it's been what 3-4 weeks.
Rebecca, do you know what her last day is? I don't know.
Three and a half.
Yeah.
But she's been out of town.
So we will likely retain her services into the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you for making that recommendation.
Ms. Curley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With regard to the $500 retention bonuses to our existing drivers, will this bring existing drivers up to parity with new drivers and those incentives that have been provided, or is there still some level of disparity between our experienced drivers and new drivers?
That's a great question. There has been some consternation amongst our most experienced drivers because we implemented the incentive program to attract new drivers. The new drivers were due to get a $500 incentive on January 15th. So this will match that incentive of the $500. one change, in addition to that, though, we did make another change earlier, and you approved that, and that is we have historically not paid the trainees during their training time. And that's why we had so many people falling out, because they couldn't afford to give up 3 or 4 weeks of training time and not be compensated. So we are paying the individuals that we recruit to go through the training program, and that's new. And the feedback that I have received from some of our experienced drivers is that, well, we didn't get paid to go through the training, and I understand that, but our conditions and circumstances are very different now. I hope that answers your question.
But in terms of base pay or other financial incentives,
Well,
I just want to
our
make sure we're
experienced
not.
drivers are going to earn more per hour because they've been driving longer. As I alluded to just a few moments ago, we plan on bringing to you another proposal in October to make us more competitive on an hourly rate with neighboring districts and those people that are doing a good job of recruiting drivers away from us. So we're not competitive with the region. Well, we're competitive, but we're not as competitive as we need to be yet. So we're going to bring an adjustment to you in October. But I do think that this $500 incentive, retention incentive, will in some ways right the ship with our most experienced drivers to incentivize them to stay. Mr.
Thank
Golden,
you.
would you agree with that statement?
Well, that's our hope. I will tell you also that all our drivers who were employed through last year, their hourly rate is higher than any new hires who are just licensed. What we did last year was we eliminated the 0 column, the 0-year experience column, and so new hires start at $14.43 an hour. At the time, all our existing drivers were brought up above that, and of course, they had a 5% raise from last year.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we are understanding any level of disparity that may be there from a compensation standpoint that could be leading to some of those drivers leaving us, and we rectify that. So with the next plan that is presented, just for my own edification, I would like to understand, why some of them are also leaving, if there is any level of disparity, so we can rectify that. And then the source of funding for the additional retention bonus, will that be out of the existing budget, or is there an impact?
We have not been at full hire since the beginning of year for the number of bus drivers that we had in the budget. So,
Okay.
Leslie, I don't want to speak for you, but are we able to pay for that out of the existing funds, or will we have to come back at some point in time and ask for additional funds in that line item?
At this time, based on what I'm projecting it to be at, we probably can handle it within the budget that we have. However, with us coming back in October with an additional plan, that may require additional funding, but I won't go forth with that till probably closer to the end of the year to see. The Transportation Department normally is under budget every year because we're always not at full hire. So there's always money left over in that account.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Galbraith.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure, and I'd like to get Dr. Looney's recommendation, but given the urgency and I guess to stop further resignation and whatever the source of the problem is, would you recommend would taking action prior to the next board member or the next board meeting be advantageous, or do you think that there would be no additional harm if we waited a full month?
Thank you. It's my belief that the $500 is going to make a huge difference in the short term, because that's money that they'll have in hand before the end of the first semester. The reality of it is the challenge that we're facing is not unique to bus drivers. It's relevant to all of our lowest paid workers. Our custodial contractors are struggling with it for the same reason. And so I do think that we need to do something more, but I think we need to be very reflective and thoughtful about what we do, because just as we develop an incentive program for new bus drivers to come on board, we create consternation amongst other employee groups if we do something for one group and not the other. And so Mrs. Owens is working on a more global review and recommendation for compensation for our lowest paid workers that I think will help all, assuming that we can get it passed with a budget amendment. But so I think in the short run we're fine. I want to say this too, and we do exit interviews, and so there hasn't been a single reason, excuse me, why our bus drivers are leaving. One of the reasons, and the most often cited reason, is compensation, and it's because neighboring districts and/or competitors pay slightly more than us, or guarantee enough hours for them to get 40 hours a week. And as you know, our drivers don't drive 40 hours a week. So I do think that with Mr. Fuller coming on board, he will be able to very quickly give us some guidance based on his experience in the private sector.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, add one, a little bit more information related to that. Our Assistant Transportation Director and I have gone out and met with drivers at our various hubs, from the high school zones, et cetera, and we've had some pretty detailed discussions with those drivers. We actually have 2 more to visit in the next day and a half. And my thinking on this is based on the discussions we had with so many variables that affect pretty much any employee, but especially these drivers. What we thought with this proposal immediately is to let the drivers know that we are thinking about you, we are hearing you. We recognize especially that during the break at the end of the first semester, they're not working, and giving them an extra $500 bonus for sticking it out for that retention is going to make a difference for them in the short run, to let them know that we're working on it, and that with Mr. Fuller coming on board, he's going to be analyzing all the details, both short and long-term issues, to try to create a good plan that will improve all aspects of their work.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this bonus, retention bonus of $500. If I don't see any other questions or comments, if you would record your votes, please. Okay, thank you. We had 2 items pulled from the consent agenda. The first one was approval of calendar committee membership. It's on page 27 of your book. Ms. Curley, you requested that one be pulled.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
You can speak to it, please.
Okay, thank you. My question was just for clarification as well regarding, is this part of PECA and the memorandum of understanding that members be selected, or can you please speak to that? It was just more for Mr. Golden, just to understand how members were selected for this.
Yes, the calendar committee structure is set up through PECA and our memorandum of understanding. And as many of you know, we've discussed this a couple of times in our board meetings. We're in year 3 of our 3-year MOU, and we have an obligation to our families to get a calendar out for next year. So this will be the 3rd year of this structure under the existing 3-year agreement. So the short answer is yes, it is part of the PECA agreement that we're bound by this year.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve that item on page 27 for recommendation to the calendar committee? Motion from Dr. Burgos. Second by Ms. Emerson. Any other comments or questions? I see none. If you'd record your votes, please.
The vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is the approval of Title I Focus Schools Grant 2016 for Fairview Middle School. It is on page 31 of your notebooks. Ms. Curley, you asked for that one to be moved. If you'd speak to that, please, your request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are matching funds required in accepting this particular grant?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anyone like to make a motion on this item? Motion to approve from Mr. Peterson. Second by Mr. Hullett. Any other comments or questions? I see none. If you'd record your votes, please.
The vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Okay, thank you. That is the last item on our agenda. Any other comments or questions from the board members? I see none. Then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.